I'm happy to see that as this is a business forum, the business is already happening. Networking and conversing is taking place, but please be seated. Momchil, Manu, we will be happy to have a discussion, but let's do it after that. Dear guests, please be seated so we can start. We are running a little bit late. You have come, let's go. And that being said, today on the panel of innovations, we will start with several welcome notes, then a couple of presentations and keynote speeches, and then there will be the panel. I will ask all the guests to be ready, and that being said, I have the honor and privilege to introduce Ms. Maria Gabriel, the EU Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture and Youth. Madam Commissioner, please join us.
Thank you very much, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it's a great pleasure for me to be here together with all of you. I think that what we all witness with this forum, and especially with this panel, it's that's a moment of opportunity. Opportunity for cooperation, opportunity for more connectivity, and opportunity to build together a common sustainable future. So I would like to say since the beginning that I don't see innovation as something in isolation. And that's my first message today. Science, innovation, and education in synergy have the potential to become the engine behind a new growth, a new cycle of growth in the region of the 3 Cs. They can help the countries address structural and societal challenges, involve also other countries, build partnerships that was set during the presidential panel too, and at the same time, to turn the region into a next generation technology leader. So my message today is that science, innovation, and education combined in a knowledge triangle can be a key driver for development and attracting of talents, enhancing business and economy, and at the same time to better positioning the region globally. Yes, innovations are economic multiplier, but what we need is an ecosystem approach, and we need some innovative ways to do, not some like in some previous periods. Because yes, today, Europe and this region are facing 2 critical challenges. On one side, some of our best scientists and innovators find better opportunities abroad, and at the same time, new technologies and innovations diffuse too slowly across Europe. Is there any positive and negative side? Yes. On the positive side, and I think that it's our chance. We are witnessing the 4th wave of innovation, the deep tech, and Europe is well positioned to ride the next wave of innovation around the deep tech startups. What are our strengths? We have a strong scientific base. We are leader in science in the world. It's time to turn this leadership into a leadership in innovation. We have strong industrial base. We need to continue to invest in well-educated people. We have a number of global leading companies in key sectors, and we have now more and more a healthy startup landscape. And when we talk about deep tech, I looked at the region of the 3 Cs, and what I discovered it's that the best examples of companies that are becoming global leaders are coming from the region. I'm referring here to the Slovak GA Drilling for deep geothermal energy, Estonian-German Skeleton for sustainable batteries. We have our Bulgarian GMT Hub. They make our industrial systems more operational. They help our industries. We have the Croatian Ramic Automobili, and we have the Valanx for synthetic biology in Austria. That's positive side. But there is some obstacles that we need to tackle together. And I think that this time we have different chances to overcome these obstacles because we have innovation and because we decide to work together. Because yes, it's time to address the fragmentation of the local innovation ecosystems in Europe. It's time to talk about venture capital. It's time to talk about talents, not to retain them. I don't like this expression. To give them opportunity to choose the region, their countries, and Europe as their home. And for that, I think that we need really to work together. To work together at least on 3 main areas. First, we need to reinforce our local innovation ecosystems. And for that, we need to be collaborative and flexible. That means for me, as European Commissioner for Research, Innovation, Education, Culture and Youth, to build partnerships and to create synergies. And yes, that was mentioned, this beautiful word synergy, many times today. But I think that it's really time to translate this word into something operational, tangible, something efficient on the ground. Because that is not the case when we talk about innovation. So I'm thinking here about building synergies between the investment fund within the 3Cs initiative and Horizon Europe program, and the Digital Europe program, and the Resilience and Recovery Facility plans, and cohesion funds. But for that, we need concrete examples. When we talk about these synergies between, for example, innovation, startups, and cohesion funds and Horizon Europe, I would like to give you the example of the seals of excellence. We have now this for many years. It works or not? Let's be very honest. There is not so much examples on the ground where we can see that because these companies received seal of excellence, they have facilitated the access to funding. It's time really to change this. The second thing is that, I said it, we need not only to strengthen our local innovation ecosystems, we need to connect them. We need really here to be as inclusive as possible. And that's why I'm preaching here for a place-based approach to science and innovation. I think that it's really important to use the already existing instruments in order to improve this connectivity. I'm thinking about the European Institute of Innovation and Technology and the new regional innovation scheme. It's up to us to use this opportunity. I'm thinking about the innovation ecosystem programs in the new Horizon Europe program. The funding is 500 million euros. I'm thinking about our European universities alliances, and I'm thinking about the European research area hubs. So now the challenge is very clearly, and thanks to your experience, to identify what are the key elements that already exist, where there is a need for something new to build synergies and to see how we can accelerate. The second thing, when I think about innovation and ecosystem, we need to be flexible, collaborative, build partnerships and synergies. But we need to be inclusive. And when we talk about inclusiveness, I would like to insist here on the role of citizens and young people. One maybe provocative idea. Why not to have a network of ambassadors of the 3C initiatives? To establish a network of young innovators, scientists, working together with companies, with universities, with the civil society sector, in order to promote the main priorities of the region. Especially because here we can already link this to existing initiatives, and I'm thinking about my program with the ambassadors in the Black Sea. They are doing extraordinary things, but it's really time to share knowledge, to build critical mass, and after to decide to go in the next stage. And that's my third point. Yes, it's good to be flexible, collaborative, inclusive, but we should build, we should draw on the strengths of national, regional, and local innovation ecosystems. And that means that it's our duty now to identify what are the strategic areas of investment in this field of innovation. Because we talk about energy today, but what are the real strategic areas in this so huge field? We'll work on clean hydrogen, low carbon. What it will be, I think that now it's one of the main questions. And because you are innovators, because you are people interested in innovation, we need really to take time and to identify these strategic areas. And when we talk about strategic areas, of course, it's not only a question of how to use the already existing instruments, but it's a question of how to use the new opportunities. And here my message is, let's continue to look very closely to the resilience and recovery facility plans in our member states. I can share with you that our first analyses are showing that for the first time in our European history, we'll invest such huge amount of money in research, innovation, and education. Because, for example, in research and innovation, there will be more than 35 billion euros. Add to this Horizon Europe program, cohesion funds, Digital Europe program, there is a huge amount of money. The same for education, 55 billion euros will be invested by our member states, never before. It's 1.5 times more than the whole period for cohesion funds 2014-2020. And that's exactly because we have now these investments, we have this wish to cooperate. That's why we need to identify these strategic areas and to do things together. And that's my plea. I think that our chance is to invest in talents and skills, to seize the opportunities of the fourth wave of innovation, the deep tech startups. I mentioned already good examples coming from the region, and at the same time to do this always with a special focus to citizens and young people, because if you'd like to succeed, we don't have to think about the next generation. We have to work with those that will be this next generation, and they are here together with all of us. And I would like to say thank you very much, because that's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Madam Commissioner, thank you so much for these words. And I'm really happy that you will join us in the panel, because as a matter of fact, and that's the danger of being on an event like that with business leaders and some of the best policymakers, I think we will jump immediately on what we can do. And that being said, I'm absolutely happy to introduce the next welcome note, but I will introduce it in a bit different way. Dear Minister, thank you for the last 2 months, but even more thank you for the next things we'll do together. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce Kirill, our Minister of Economy and one of the best business leaders here. Thank you.
Dear Madam Commissioner, dear friends, I'm so happy to walk into this room and see so many friends that have been working with us on innovation in different roles. As you know, I'm a minister only for 8 weeks, but innovation has been my passion for pretty much the majority of my working career. So, because I have a presentation that I specifically want to show you, and it's about cross-field innovation, because I believe innovation is not only in the space of digital. Innovation, it can be in any industry, in any direction. That's the beauty of it. And when we talk about convergence between the 3Cs region and continental Europe and Western Europe, we really have to realize that the more advanced economies have really specialized in specific industries. And if we just try to chase the leaders in a particular vertical, the chances of becoming as competitive as them is very hard. What I think we should be doing is we should be thinking about cross-field innovation, we should be thinking about our local strengths and combining them across the region so that we can create new verticals of innovation versus trying to catch up on existing fields of innovation. Also, because I'll have 15-minute presentation, I'll try to be short, but I want to say two important points we can do on this 3C initiative and something we should be talking about it for today and tomorrow. First of all, when we talk about digitalization, we cannot talk only about infrastructure. If we talk only about fiber optic cables, 5Gs, servers, supercomputers, they're all there to serve a purpose, and unless we link it with content, they're just simple infrastructure. When we talk about some of the best computers today, in 5 years, they'll be absolutely obsolete. So my first kind of drive over the next 2 days is to start to think about digitalization as both infrastructure, but also content that can be run on this infrastructure. And since right now the 3Cs fund is restricted only with 20% that can go into digitalization, my thinking would be it would make much more sense to leave this limit, not to have a set 20%. And when we talk about digitalization, is to talk about innovation projects that are based on digital. That means we can open up a little bit more the door for content-driven digital innovation. So that's my first point, and I think we should talk about it with our friends from the other 12 countries. The second point is, I really believe that energy, transportation, digitalizations are important, but as I said, innovation can be in many other industries. So my second request would be to think in the 3Cs initiative to open a special earmarked innovation fund. This to be separate, to be run specifically with the idea to put our brightest minds together, and if we're successful, we should have the new startups to have multiple shareholders across regions. Then we can tell we have done a good job together. If the next Amazon, Skype, Google is, let's say, has shareholders, scientists, business people that are leading them across the 12 countries, we've done a good job. So having said all this, I'll present you in a few minutes after the panel starts a specific project, because innovation is also about specifics, and pilot projects and successes can bring more success. So we should think about the practical steps we can enhance this agenda forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would also like to invite the representative of academia today, Mr. Professor Nicolae Dencu, who is the Minister of Education and Science of the Republic of Bulgaria. Nicolae, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As a human, as a professor in the university, as a minister, I believe in dreams, because every great achievement starts with a dream. But I believe in those dreams that can be transformed into plans, because I'm coming from the natural sciences, so we should be precise. And for me, the main meaning, the main purpose of the meeting today is to define what is our joint common dream for the next years of our countries. And then, as a Minister of Education and Science, to help how to prepare the people that we have for the dream that will be realized within 5 to 10 years. So what we should do in the academia, in the universities, in the schools, So our children, our students, they share our dream, and that's why they want to realize it, because the dreams are not realized by the ministers, they're realized by the young people. So this is it for me.
Thank you. I would now like to give the floor to Mr. Andres Sut, Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information Technology of the Republic of Estonia. He will join us digitally, so colleagues, please stream him. Okay, so as far as I understand, that's part of the post-COVID life. There are some teleconferencing issues. Okay, so in that case, let's move on and make the most of the time. Do we have the connection with Mrs. Meglė Markevičiūtė, Vice Minister of the Economy and Innovation of the Republic of Lithuania? Dear Vice Minister, the floor is yours, and there will be also a short presentation on the FinTech and GovTech.
Thank you. I'll ask the tech help to load the presentation. Thank you. So I hope the presentation will be as short as you want it to be. I was asked to share the Lithuanian experience in FinTech and GovTech, the Lithuanian success story. It is, of course, my pleasure to participate here virtually. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you, Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, being present physically is always better, but the new normal pushes everyone to a hybrid way of lifestyle once in a while. So without further ado, I'll ask to move to the next slide, please. Some of you might know that Lithuania is ranking pretty high in the global FinTech indexes. Lithuania took its first steps into the world of FinTech for rather pragmatic reason. Back in 2016, the Bank of Lithuania was dissatisfied with the low competition between the banks locally and decided to push for digitalization and innovation, making the regulatory framework understandable and appealing both to local and foreign disruptors. We have managed to pick sweet fruits of our labor since then. In 2019, Lithuania was recognized as the 4th best FinTech hub globally and the first one in the EU by FinTech licenses issued. The competition is, of course, harsh, and the index as well as our priorities are soon to change. However, we can call it a Lithuanian FinTech success story nevertheless. Next slide, please. Over the last 5 years, Lithuania achieved quite an impressive growth. We rose from 54 fintechs at the end of 2015 to 230 at the end of last year. Currently, we have around 4,000 people working in the industry. Next slide, please. The 3 core elements making Lithuania so strong in FinTech are definitely the first, dedicated sandbox, second, favorable regulation, and third, the ease of doing business. Today, given the importance of e-commerce, online financial services, and technology growth, the opportunities for open banking, cybersecurity, RegTech, and AML, wealth tech sectors are ample in Lithuania. Next slide, please. How did we come to such a point? The goal of becoming home to international fintechs was set in 2016 by several government institutions and agencies, and it has been a clear ambition of the Lithuanian government and result of a successful collaboration between major institutions and social partners. Next slide, please. I dare to say that a breakthrough was achieved a lot to the extent due to the flexibility of our central bank, the Bank of Lithuania, which streamlined the licensing processes. Next slide, please. After that, we established the Newcomers Program, which is basically a one-stop shop to helping starting fintech companies to get all the relevant information and tailor-made consultation about the licensing process. For non-EU fintechs, we introduced the so-called Startup Visa, which helped a lot. Of course, we couldn't have done it without close cooperation among members of governmental bodies and institutions. Next slide, please. So what is the future for fintech in Lithuania? Our goal is definitely to shift our focus from quantity to quality. Our plan is to focus on strengthening anti-money laundering competences in Lithuania and to broaden the scope of activities carried out by companies established here. Already we've taken a few steps towards these goals. For example, we have established AML Competence Center. We're planning to introduce subsidies for the AML training certification, thus increasing the number of competent compliance specialists. We also plan to develop various high potential activities falling under FinTech umbrella. And lastly, there are various opportunities to develop crowdfunding, wealth tech, and insert tech or insurance tech products and services in the future. So this is the short introduction to our fintech success story and our future plans in Lithuania. The next part of my presentation, if I can ask to move to the next slide, please, is our GovTech story. So we can move to another slide. Yeah, thank you. So Lithuania also aims to be an ideas and innovations laboratory on a pan-European level or even beyond. Focusing on GovTech is one of the steps to achieve that and to become a sandbox country, if you will. We definitely see GovTech as an opportunity for both economic growth and public sector transformation. From the economic perspective, the GovTech is a global phenomenon with a calculated market size of $400 billion. Overall, 13% of Lithuania's GDP is made of public procurement, and there's definitely a room to improvement in terms of innovative procurement. I also don't want to sound cliche, but as the world today is faced with increasing number of challenges which require new innovative solutions, the public sector has to change as well. And startups involved in GovTech helps the public sector to take full advantage of services and the culture of creativity that is much more prevalent in private sector than public, unfortunately. Next slide, please. So what have we achieved so far? In 2019, Lithuania made a strategic decisions towards GovTech innovation, aiming to mirror a country's success in fintech. We launched GovTech Lab, which was focused on opening up the public sector to innovative ideas. The goals of it were two. First, to bring innovative solutions to the public sector, and second, naturally, to create more economic opportunities for startups and SMEs. Of course, none of this is possible without the cultural transformation in the public sector. Therefore, it is both a byproduct of GovTech Labs activities, but also a necessary part to ensure success. How do we operate? So the GovTech Lab runs a process called GovTech Challenge Series. It's an accelerator where startups together with public sector institutions work together on GovTech solutions. So far, we had 20 of these challenges. And also the first efforts of Lithuania were acknowledged internationally. It has already won the European Innovation in Politics Award in 2019. There's also a lot of interest from the public sector and startups to participate. And since the original experiment paid off, we have decided that it's important to further develop and expand it. Therefore, this year we have launched a funded GovTech Sandbox, and from now on, public authorities can receive funding for piloting GovTech solutions, which basically allows public authorities to run funded GovTech pilots through an inclusive process called design contest and open up its challenges to startups and other businesses. In the period of 1 month, we have received almost 100 challenges from public sector institutions that want to be part of the sandbox. Next slide, please. My absolutely last slide now is what are the possibilities for our international 3Cs initiative, perhaps European cooperation and GovTech sector. So we as Lithuania are open for international collaboration, and this is actually one of the main selling points for startups, the fact that agencies in different countries have similar problems which startups can solve. It basically helps them to go global. And one of the examples of our international cooperation that we would like to offer the countries of 3Cs initiative who haven't joined it yet is CivTech Alliance, the initiative we started together with Scotland. It is a worldwide network of public, private, and third sector organizations who work together across civic and GovTech sectors, supporting and developing products and services which make citizens' lives better. This network acts as peer-to-peer support network, hosting weekly video conference calls to share ideas, resources, and support for programs. This alliance is growing and currently includes organizations from almost 20 countries. And we have ambitious plans for it in the future. Our next steps will be to launch CivTech Alliance COP26 Global Scale-Up Program, which would be for green scale-ups from around the world. The program would draw together leading GovTech and CivTech innovation programs around the world to deliver a global platform for fast-growing companies to access policymakers, procurers, and investors. And from there, we would like to present at UN Climate Change Conference, COP26 in November, where the eyes of the world will be on Glasgow, Scotland for the climate change negotiations. We also consult other countries about setting up GovTech programs, and we are happy to share our experience in launching GovTech labs and other initiatives in Lithuania. And of course, we are happy to announce, since the commissioner is here, and the main topic in many countries, perhaps during the past few months, was the New Generation Plan. Our New Generation Lithuania Plan will allocate 5 million to the establishment of the new innovation agency, which should become operational in the first quarter of next year. And our GovTech Hub will find its place in it. We will have much more experts working in the field of innovation who will provide the clients with monitoring, analysis services, facilitation of networking, and all other necessary services. So I will stop my presentation here. The presentation was probably a bit longer than expected, but we definitely had things to share from FinTech and GovTech sectors in Lithuania. I will be happy to answer any questions or discussion points that arise later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Minister. I'm really hoping that you will be staying with us until the end of the panel. The good news is that Zoom has succumbed to strong Eastern European sentences. So Mr. Andres Sut, the Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information and Technology of the Republic of Estonia, is with us. Dear Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for a kind introduction, and very happy to be at the event. I think it is of significance of this forum, really the focus on innovation. And I'm very happy that you have picked this topic up. It was very much emphasized in the opening speech of Commissioner Gabriel. Also, our Lithuanian colleague a few whiles ago spoke about innovation, and I think that's really, really important. If we go back to the origin of the roots of this initiative, it was to close the connectivity gap between our countries. And that is certainly, as we see today, also in the light of the COVID, it's far more than physical connections, the roads, energy networks, which are all important. But I think more than ever, we really are driven by innovation, by green transition, and by digitalization. And I think there are many topics to be discussed, and I will perhaps pick a few points to elaborate a bit further. First, what is really important is to understand and to stress the digital dimension of a 3Cs initiative. We have launched in Tallinn smart connectivity back in 2020, and it is clear innovation is really a core part of it. Because if we look at any infrastructure project, or for that matter, I think any business in a landscape, there is always a digital component attached, and there is always a need to ask: are we making full use of opportunities ICT offers, or we are underutilizing something? And it's not really about the choice. Should we do it? It's clearly the basic what needs to be done in order to be globally competitive. Of course, digital means also data, or the data is really at the center, and we need to see how and in what way we can unlock this power of data to make it safe, reliable. Because that is also extremely important. And then, of course, we have hundreds of bright minds to innovate, to come up with the new ideas and services. And that is, I think, also a testament when yesterday was a really important day for Estonia, but I think more broadly. Wise was the largest ever tech company listing in London Stock Exchange, and this company is made in Estonia. I think that is a very good example how innovation in the field of fintech, but also more broadly in the digital society, what we have built in Estonia is now taking a big step forward and being listed in the London Stock Exchange, and as of yesterday's close, valued at 11 billion US. So these are important strides, and I think it's not only the governments who have to digitalize, it's also the businesses in the same way, and education and many other dimensions. So, and that I think offers a lot of opportunities for cooperation. And here I very much agree with Commissioner that if we look globally, then we compete with China, we compete with the US, and we need to really make the European ecosystem of innovation, of startup, of capital markets. We really need to make them work and to collaborate. And what we are focusing in Estonia very much now is really to bring together the universities and the companies, because from both ends there is clear will to cooperate far more than it used to be the case perhaps a couple of years ago. And this is precisely where most of the innovation will take place. And that's why I think more we can also use this 3Cs initiative, including on the financing side. We will be far better off jointly going forward. So from that point of view, Estonia is certainly open for business and open for talents. So talents are welcome here. As I mentioned, we have been developing our startup ecosystem for quite a while now, and we are really proud to have 7 unicorns grown out from Estonia. And that has also given a major boost to innovation. What we would like to also see spreading along the countries of Three Seas initiative, because I think first time after regaining independence, we have domestic capital available from family offices, from founders, and from other financing vehicles, and that really helps to develop the innovation and keep the startup ecosystem up and running. So, of course, I think it's equally important, and that's my second point, if we talk about the digital dimension of the Three Seas or connectivity, there are several key digital enablers we should make really well working, such as a strong EID, and that is really the national responsibility. But also, I think it's important if we talk about the digital market, digital ecosystems, we talk really about all the countries of the Union, and this is where I think also the Three Seas initiative can play a crucial role, because we need strong EID, we need secure exchange of data, and of course, what we ultimately need, and that's really a fundamental point, we need to have a trust in the system, because that is really the fundamental enabler. Without the trust, we can't really push our digital agenda forward. And my third and last point is on the cybersecurity. If we look at what is happening in the cyber domain today, the sophistication, the extent, frequency of cyber attacks, it's all on the rise. And there is no really difference in target. Is it the government office, are these politicians, are these private companies? And increasingly, the cyber attacks are focusing on the infrastructure providers. The most recent example where the retail chain in Sweden was down because of the attack on the payment system provider or payment system solution provider in the US. I mean, this is just one example. Or the Colonial Pipeline from a few more weeks back. So we are constantly tested. And I think what is really important for us as policymakers is to make sure that we, alongside the digitalization, invest also in cybersecurity. For defense domain, we have a very clear benchmark. 2% of GDP should be allocated to defense expenditures. I believe we need a comparable benchmark as a percentage of IT budget devoted to cybersecurity. And that, I think, is something we really need to work collectively and closely. Otherwise, if we look at the trillions of euros what will be invested over the next 5 to 10 years globally in the digitalization, if it is not complemented by the investments into the cybersecurity, we will make ourselves really vulnerable. So I think we should use really the Three Seas initiative to make the innovation to happen. We have still relatively few legacy systems, and we are certainly continue to be dynamic and agile to change and to adapt the new technologies. And I also call on all of you in the governments to set the right preconditions in place, the strong EID principles of data exchange and security, and really allow this data to be used. And of course, we need all to be open and compete for a talent and capital to come up with smart projects and ideas. And the bigger the market, I think the better. And of course, I do support strongly also the financing of these ideas. So we need to have capital markets in place and the funding provided so that we can actually work jointly together. And I very much look forward that we could continue, and we will continue our discussions already during the Tallinn Digital Summit on September the 7th. So I will stop here. I will also apologize for not being able to stay for the reminder of the event, because I need to return to the cabinet meeting, but I'm sure we will have a good discussion to be followed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Sut. I also would like to thank our technical team who managed to overcome the broadband challenges. Two things are following before we start the panel, but they are actually good news for the partner countries, also for the team and for the Lithuanian minister, because we will be talking now about practical things. And I would like very briefly to start with something with regards to Bulgarian fintech. One of the key learning, could you please put it on the screen? Good, thank you. One of the key learnings when we have been preparing the whole event is that maybe we need to know a little bit more about each other. This is one of the areas in which we can immediately start cooperating, because we are running one of the strongest and most open fintech ecosystem in Europe and within the 12 countries in the 3 Cs initiative. 170 companies are directly fintech, which are startups. The entire number of players is almost 800. Please don't take pictures. We will send the presentation to anybody who would like to have it. 40% of the entire Bulgarian IT is working in one way or the other for fintech, which means 25,000 people are more or less in this area and approximately 200 companies. So we are really willing to cooperate and do things together. And some of the common challenges will come in a moment. Here are things which are being developed in Bulgaria, and they are at European and even global leadership level. We are developing fantastic things. We are open to the world. We are exporting. We have, however, the common challenge with most of the Central Eastern European countries. The penetration of these technologies locally is yet to be developed better. What we are really like, or at least me professionally, what I really like from the presentation of the Lithuanian colleagues is the cooperation in the area of GovTech and RegTech. And this is something we would really be interested to build together, because this is the way to activate and have the spillover effect. And quick conclusion, cooperation area. Joint R&D initiatives, connected hubs, mutually accessible sandboxes. We don't need to build 12 sandboxes within the 3 Cs initiatives. Specialization may be the name of the game. And regional, entrepreneurial, and innovative platforming. And this is maybe the most crucial one. That being said, I'm happy to give floor again to Minister Petkov with the last presentation, but please believe me, this is maybe the best one for today. Dear Minister.
We'll put the presentation on. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, everybody, again. I just wanted to say that maybe that's a really good idea, specialization. We all need sandboxes in each of the 12 countries, but these sandboxes should be specialized in different areas in order to get the synergy among the 12 countries. And as I said, it's really hard to be super competitive in a field that we're not already competitive, because it's a race. But if we try to pull our top minds together in a cross-field innovations, this region really has a chance. So, cross-border digitalization and innovation. Here I have to put a little bit of a point, what I said in the beginning. Digitalization not only in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of content. Very quickly, this is the oldest innovation economic model, which says the only way to move from the status quo is to go through the invention phase that is led by scientists, like the ones that Professor Denkov is talking about. After that, in order to really become an innovation, we need entrepreneurs to make it, to move the actual markets. Unless we have a movement of the markets, it's staying in the invention phase. It's very hard to have high-end innovation without the invention. So science and education is extremely important. And then the imitation phase is just the next step to bring us back to the status quo. So we really have to focus on the invention and the innovation across our 12 countries. So the other thing that I noticed, and this is kind of really an opportunity and also a bit of a problem, is that the 3Cs fund is $1 billion. We estimated that we need about 2 trillion to fund the infrastructure and the energy demands of our region to have a chance to be as developed as Western Europe. So when we have $1 billion, how can we decide to make it bigger? I believe that the only way we can do it is through pilot projects that are successful and prove to the stakeholders that it's worth it. If we just talk about let's build the biggest highway from the Black Sea all the way to the Nordic Sea, right now the $1 billion would be about 100 kilometers worth of highway. And we're done. So we know that that's not the best use of our funds. So how can we bring these pilot projects? Maybe we should all step back and say we have $1 billion. Let's propose each a project of 50 million. And once we put a 50 million project in each of our countries that is not replicated, but maybe specialized, I like this idea, then each of the stakeholders, our taxpayers, our companies, can say, okay, this initiative is worth it, let's put more money into it. So step by step, instead of attacking the sea, let's just have few successes that are real. So what we're proposing is something that the commissioner had started, and now it's a reality. It's related to Bulgaria's supercomputer. We have a great supercomputer just installed. We have some colleagues here in the audience that have been part of the installation, which I'm really happy to see. But this is a great infrastructure, digital infrastructure, that right now still don't have the content. Moreover, we really need to attract and to keep it as a digital project. And I'm keeping it specifically as a digital project because right now the fund is allowed to do only digital investment. When we talk about the innovation investment, that should require a different fund, which is not yet a reality. So again, being as practical as possible. The vision is to really bring a lot of final users of this digital infrastructure to be part of the digital infrastructure. That's a quick slide why the 3Cs could really be a leader in this. We are 15% of the EU in terms of the GDP, 25% of the population. Average growth rate is faster than Western Europe, which is good, so the convergence is happening. So now I'm getting to the next stage. Who can use a supercomputer, a digital hub, servers, that can really require this infrastructure? Because today servers are pretty strong. Do we really need a supercomputer for most of our exercises? One group of companies across the 12 countries really needed supercomputer and a digital hub and a data storage. And this is the biotech and pharma. Most of the R&D in biotech and pharma now is done through digital modeling. If you want to discover a new molecule, and Professor Denkov would know more about that than me, now it's much easier to run it through these complicated models, digital models for matching, versus running it through the labs. In biotech, we know all the CRISPR technology, the innovation in this space requires huge data analysis. At the same time, when we look at our region across the 12 countries, we have really strong experience in clinical trials. Actually, this is one of our competitive advantages. Again, I'm trying to say innovation should try to take our strong points, not to play the catch-up game. Because innovation can be in all million directions. We can see across our 12 countries, we're one of the leaders in clinical trials. This is just how it looks, the space for biotech in little Bulgaria. Imagine if we had to put a slide with all the players across the 12 region, how dense this would look like. So what can we offer? So a 3Cs digital hub located in the Sofia Tech Park where we actually give access to this supercomputer to do a lot of the computation. And this is already an infrastructure that's been invested nationally, but we want to offer it to all the companies across the 3Cs region to use it. And we'll be happy to give it in a very subsidized way. Access to talent in innovation. As much as the site is global, it turns out that innovation still happens in a single physical location. When you have to have lunch with your colleagues, you can exchange ideas much better than if you just have Zoom calls. We saw that Zoom calls sometimes don't work out as good. So the idea is to invite across the 12 countries all the pharma and biotech companies to have an office in Sofia Tech Park. We already have the science laboratories, and to work together on innovation in biotech and pharma. Use our supercomputer and get a 50 million investment. That's like a few kilometers of the south-north highway that it was mentioned before. So this is actually real. It's very practical. So what's the value proposition? We can have a building with next to the biopharma lab complex that's already existing. Invite the companies across the 12 countries and others from our strategic partners and say, what do you really require from us in order to be located here? How can we coordinate in this innovation space so that you're all here and exchanging ideas, exchanging innovation strategies? And we've already talked with some of them, and they said we need few things. We need to make sure that some of the other companies are here, so we're interested, so it's a cluster. We also need access to the supercomputer, and what we really need is access to your health data. Why Pfizer put such a fast track on the vaccination in Israel? Do you guys know why? Because Israel has connected its health data without taking out the actual names of the people, and it's directly linking it to a digital hub where if you're a pharma company, once you implement, let's say, the Pfizer vaccine, you can immediately follow what's happening in terms of the health data of the people. So Pfizer chose Israel not only because these guys were fast to act, but also because they can analyze the data on the vaccinations. Imagine if we can put in the digital and the health data across the 12 countries, how we can become one of the richest, most potent source of health data information, and then to become, this region to become a leading force in the biotech and pharma space. So, as we talked about, big dreams are great, but it needs short first initial steps. The first initial step is that we invite these companies to think about this idea and also maybe provide from 3 hospitals the health data. So we start from somewhere. So the second thing, of course, is this is our supercomputer. This is an actual picture of our actual supercomputer. It's installed. So imagine if you're a company from Poland, from Hungary, and you can actually run your top digital research data on it for almost very little cost or in a subsidized way. That's a competitive advantage. Again, we want to play it. So why not our Polish friends or our Hungarian friends or our Lithuanian friends, Latvian friends, run their R&D pharma questions on this supercomputer. It's there to be used. Again, we actually also want to open up the space for startups as well. So it's not only about the big companies playing their role, it's also inviting the young talent to come in. So this is a project that I really think, so this is the access to talents. This is a picture of me. Thank you, my staff, that you're putting this. The point here is Dr. Fichorov, for example, and I'm sure in each of the 12 countries we have such diaspora around the world. She's #2 professor in Harvard Medical School. I'm sure if we take the top people of each of those 12 countries, we can create an amazing board that can govern this type of projects to bring it to success. And the point is to put it all together, to make it practical, and to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Petkov. And I'm also happy to invite the last keynote speaker, because I really don't have the patience to start on how, when, and what we do next week. But we need one more critical input. And that being said, I am happy to invite our Minister of Education and Innovation and Research, Professor Denkov, please.
So Kirill Petkov asked me to help me to convince you that this idea is good. Yes, and I thought how to do it. I'll start with numbers. Not only because I'm a minister, and every minister should start with numbers, but also because I want to convince you that there is much more than this billion that was mentioned before. So in the last 6 years, Bulgaria invested 200 million euros in 14 centers of excellence and centers of competence. As needed, as requested by European Commission, we defined 4 priority areas. No surprise, ICT, mechatronics, health sciences, and creative industries. Good. These people struggled with the investments, with the administration, with the hurdles. They're ready to go on the next step. So we have this 200 million ready to go in the next 6-7 years. And they're still struggling with the ideas that they had 5-6 years ago. Then we are preparing to invest about 100 million into our research universities in the next 3 to 4 years with a plan for resilience, recovery and resilience. So again, these universities are there. They're expecting to see how to use this funding. And what we saw that the struggling is not only with the administration, the struggling is how to define our next dream, as I like to say. So all of the people in these units, because they usually combine several universities, several institutes of the academy, can combine their efforts to work together for something that has not been seen before. Until now, what we see is that they work on patches, they work on the dreams that they had 5 or even 10 years ago, and this is something that should change. So everything that we put for the next period is, okay, define your dream and try to make it a reality. So I'll now go to the personal story, and then I'll combine them together. The personal story is that by chance, several years ago, I met Kirill Petkov as an entrepreneur, understanding nothing of my field of science, but working with clever scientists in biotechnology. And my field is quite different from biotechnology. So he came with the entrepreneur idea and said, okay, I need a solution, but my biotechnologies are giving part of it. 10% of it. We need 100% if we want to go to the market. And then within 3 months, we gave another 10%, then together made 100%. Because in innovation, the synergy, the cross-category, the multidisciplinary innovation is giving a great synergy. So 1 + 1 is equal to 10. So our dream with Kirill today is that we can use this capacity that I'm sure you have in your countries to define the dream of these waiting scientists for the next 7 to 10 years, so they can work together and then can define the MIT or Stanford or ETH, if you like, of our Eastern Europe. And I'm sure none of our countries can do this alone. So the only way to do something similar to that is to work together. Did I help you?
Thank you so much. At least for me it worked. Now, without much ado, I would like to invite all the panelists on the stage, and in the meantime I will be making the introduction. Madam Commissioner, please join us. Dear Minister Petkov, dear Minister Denkov, please join us as well. Okay, Minister Petkov will join us in a couple of minutes. He needs to sign something important and he will make a good announcement after that. But we continue, and I would be happy to invite here to join us at the panel Mr. Michał Kanownik, Chair of Digital Poland and the CE Digital Coalition. Mr. Peter Blaskowicz, Chief Executive Officer of the Slovak Innovation and Energy Agency. Mr. Blaskowicz, thank you. Please join us.
Sorry. That's fine. No, I'm substituting him.
Ms. Geraldine O'Keefe, Co-founder, Chief Innovation Officer of Software Group. Mr. Božidar Nejčev, Partner at PwC Central and Eastern Europe. Mr. Mihnea Crăciun, Executive Director of Endeavor Romania. And last but not least, Mr. Nils Kauniš, Head of 5G Program at VA's Communications Office of Latvia. So, it is a big panel, maybe one of the biggest I've had in my life. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you everybody for participating. Please, Zdravko and the other colleagues will be getting your questions. We want them. So we have time at the end to answer all the questions that would arise. I would ask when we will be having the discussion to make it as much as interactive as possible. Please do not make more than 2-3 minutes of a speech, otherwise I would be coughing politely. And interrupt, engage. We have a very good topic to discuss on. Sir Michał, I will start with you. And you have the heavy task to open the discussion, and at the same time, after seeing several presentations with main motive on cooperation, 2 questions. First, do you share the energy? Second, does Poland share this energy, and what challenges, opportunities, how do you feel generally about?
Well, in general, it's very difficult to start this kind of panel because in this, dear guests, it's really important to say this first sentence to open discussion. And I think that I would like to think how to say what is it innovation first. And I decided to say that if we are talking about science, that it's kind of dreaming. So innovation, in my opinion, is kind of when dreams come true. And what to do about these dreams, how to make these dreams in real life. And I think, and I think that we should have a few bullet points on the table, and maybe I will try to tell what we have in Poland, how to organize these few things to establish a real innovation in our economy, not only in national level, but maybe in the regional, in Free Seas region. Because I think that what you said, cooperation between our countries in Free Seas regions is absolutely the most important condition how to build a real digital innovation economy in our region. So first, we have to start from money. We have to have money for different projects, new products, new services. And frankly speaking, and when I look at Mrs. Gabriel, I think that we have money in Europe, in recovery funds, in different national projects, even in private funds. For example, in Poland, public investment in R&D is only a few % of spending. At over 60% of costs in R&D is a private investment program. So, but I'm sure that money we have in Europe enough to spend on new projects, new services, in new companies. So then we have to have the good regulation in this area. And I think that in Europe, in our region, it's the biggest challenge, because Europe loves over-regulated situation. We have to create a good regulation. For example, in Poland, we have a very good innovation box which stimulate private companies to invest in R&D sector. Then we have to have very good R&D centers. Science is absolutely engine of innovation.
And also, as far as I remember, you had one of the first sandboxes in continental Europe, right?
Exactly.
How does it work?
In my opinion,
yes,
great. Absolutely great. So that's why, in my opinion, we can share this our experience in the region. But please remember that in Poland right now, we have the biggest R&D centers, the huge companies, Ericsson, Nokia, Samsung, IBM, but we have a lot of our Polish R&D center. For example, Asseco, Polish company, it's over 6,000 people working in R&D centers. So this is absolutely the most important engine of innovation is R&D centers, science, young engineers who are working on new ideas in this area. And very shortly, three last things. Next, we have to have startups, companies, to establish these new products, new services. But it's very important to build a cooperation between startups and big techs. It's impossible to build real great companies based only on startups. We have to find some way how to cooperate between the biggest companies in the world, in tech world, with our local, our regional startups. If I will ask, is it possible to build in Poland new Google? Probably not. But if we'll try to build a new Google together in Free City region, maybe we can try. And for startups, we have to have people to work. And building digital skills in Europe, in our region, is absolutely the fundamental issue for our government and for whole European Union. And I hope that in recovery funds, in new digital Europe, in the European budget, this position will be absolutely priority. And in this area, of course, we have to have very good young people to work, but we have to have a very good consumers which will know how to use new technology, new products, how to use in business, in real life. Digital skills, it's not only for workers, but in general, in whole society, for consumers, for SMEs especially. There is a huge problem with a level of digital skills in SMEs. And I think that the last thing, because I would like to listen rest of our guests, we have to understand that innovation is not only digital area. Innovation is a our whole economy, whole our life. Of course, we can discuss about AI, cybersecurity, robotics, etc. But innovation is a part of every part of national European economy. And without understanding that we are talking about a whole process of building a new economy in Europe, we won't be able to build a real innovation in Europe. I hope that together, in Free City region, we understand this situation, and I hope that between our countries, between our businesses, there will be the most important word in our discussion is cooperation. With cooperation, we can build any new product, any new business, any new companies, and we can be a real partner in global discussion, global market. Without cooperation, we can be only a small country in the middle of world.
Awesome. Actually, 2 points, and I'm really happy that you have touched them. One of them, I would ask maybe in 5 minutes Mrs. O'Keefe to join us on that, because the interaction between startups and incumbents is a different thing. But in the meantime, for the entire audience, today when we have been selecting the panelists, if you look at the composition of the panel, everybody is different. We have the people from the government, we have the policymakers, we have only one, but very strong agency of innovation. We have the private sector and we have the platform players, both as company, but also as a pure platform. And then we have another tech company, which is altogether, I don't know, right now telecoms are more tech companies or telecoms, but that will be another discussion maybe in 15 minutes. So I will be from time to time shifting between the panelists, and we can make even a joke with Mr. Petkov until he arrives. 20 years ago, innovation was totally not digital, but maybe in 10 years it will be only digital, but always it has been a cooperation game. On this, I agree. And then, because the cooperation goes also at stakeholder level in every specific country, and Mr. Blašković, I would give the floor to you. I will then ask the commissioner to be kind of a judge to what's been happening so far.
Okay.
So it's on you. How do you feel about this? How's your country is willing to cooperate, not willing? How is it going there?
Philip, I will just first of all little bit correct. I'm not Blašković. I'm not Peter Blašković. That's fine. I sent a message, but probably it didn't flew to you. I'm responsible at the agency for innovations, purely innovation. So we have innovation and energy topics in our work, but I'm responsible for innovation. So maybe I'm on the right place. So my name is Artur, and we already talked.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's fine. So regarding the cooperation, I will share with you real experience from a little bit smaller format, because this is really huge format. 3 seas countries from the north to south, and 2 streams to south. We have really good cooperation on the level of V4 countries, so Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. And we started this cooperation several years ago in innovation, and we are still running the programs. For example, programs for the startup companies. We together select each country 7 to 10 companies and send them as a group of startups to Israel for 20 days training. And this is not just to learn something in Israel, the startup innovation startup nation. It's additional benefit of this cooperation together. These startups are communicating these 20 days together. And you, at the end of the day, I was there at the last day of the program. You do not recognize who is Hungarian, who is Polish, who is Slovak, who is Czech, unless you know them. Because all are speaking the same language and all they are discussing the same topics. And they are creating really informal cooperational hubs, how to say. And they are, after programs, they are still communicating, they are still working together. And this is something which counts. So this is the level of startups. We have another program, V4 and South Korea, which is knowledge sharing program, where we are, this is more on governmental level, but it's again very important for innovation system development. We are learning from those countries, or from the country which is really much advanced, especially in the industry 4.0, and we are trying to get this knowledge to our particular countries. So we are open to cooperation, we are open to co-creation, as you mentioned, Michal. Of course, every idea will create many questions. How to do that? What are the obstacles? And well, but we are ready to discuss. We are ready to let's say, fix or to solve the issues. So we are open.
Thank you. I owe you a beer, by the way. But,
that's fine.
Now, going further on, Madam Commissioner, and it's a tricky question. 12 countries, all of them members of the Union. How this could be both a regional and pan-European initiative? Because in the next 45 minutes we will be discussing on the how. But in the end of the day, we should not make something separate
it's still there. You get my point?
Yes, and that's exactly the right moment to receive your proposal. First, I would like really to raise this issue. I'm not sure that we have all the necessary money that we would like to invest in research and innovation, because I stay for the moment very prudent. Now for 20 years, we have our big ambition to have at least 3% of our GDP invested in research and innovation, and where we are, 2.19%. No, now I would like to see that our member states are able to advance, and believe me, especially for those countries like ours, where we need to accelerate the pace, it's not always evident, our high political conversation. So that's my plea. Every single voice is counting here. You have the experience. You know what will be the opportunities and the benefits on the ground for our citizens, for our small, medium enterprises. Don't hesitate to continue to raise this issue, because it's certainly something that we have done and that will be achieved easily. Second, on the question, because I have to leave earlier and I would like to apologize, that's exactly the right moment. And that's my big ambition, actually, because on one side we have a European research area, we have a European education area, but we don't have a European innovation area. And we all talk about how to tackle these fragmented local different innovation ecosystems, how to have access to venture capital, how to create capital market, how to cooperate with talents, with companies, with innovation. And I must say that now for 5 months, I started a co-creation process, because I think that it's not up to us, politicians, to tell to our innovators what this should be, a European innovation ecosystem. So my plea is, don't hesitate to make concrete proposals, because for the last 5 months, first, I met for the first time ever in our history 27 unicorns coming from our 27 member states. They told me, Commissioner, it's first time that the European Commission is asking us what's happened on the ground, what are your problems, and what are your solutions. I asked them to make me some concrete proposals, what they would like to achieve with this European innovation ecosystem. In 1 month, they presented to me 8 proposals in 4 categories. It's clear. The second, that was to meet the innovation ecosystems leaders, our startups. Again, concrete proposals. I met already venture capitals, I met women, because please, more women in innovation, in ICT, we need this potential. And I think that now it will be a very good deliverable of this meeting if we create this network and you submit to us concrete proposals, especially because the next stage, it's good to listen. Actually, my team is analyzing all these proposals. But the next stage is with the European Innovation Council Forum, which will be somehow our European platform where we'll discuss these concrete proposals, immediately to identify what are the synergies with existing instruments, with the new ones. Don't forget, European Innovation Council, first time that we have this, first time that we are investing in companies and not in projects. I think that European Union should do that more and better, but it's 10 billion euros. So I think that what we need now, it's, don't hesitate to submit your concrete proposals, please, 3 or 4, not 50, because I don't believe in 50 priorities. And in that case, that's the right moment. With the European Innovation Council Forum, with now our proposal to tackle the innovation divide, to have a European innovation ecosystem, we have more than ever chances to succeed. I can't promise anything, but I believe in this bottom-up approach. I believe that it's really, we need this co-creation and co-design process, and that's what I'm witnessing here today with the presentation of the minister, with your opinions and experiences, and I think that that's the right way. We need to change this now.
In a good way, you've killed the next 2 questions, but how much time do you have?
I have to leave earlier. I asked this.
Okay, so let me just put a comment on this. I think that you're both right. I don't know how many people in the auditorium have read the fantastic paper, the European Innovation Scoreboard. How many? Have you paid attention? There is a fantastic analysis on how much and what in corporations are investing their innovation budgets. And I would say, yes, the money is there, but when we look in what corporations are investing, it's actually not in innovations. And maybe Božidar will back me up here, because specifically in financial institutions, the amount of money going to regulatory-driven innovations is totally not comparable to real innovations, but we'll go there maybe in a moment. Getting back to that, we can ask, by the way, Geraldine here is both Chief Innovations Officer and co-founder in the company that is now with the global pattern. Geraldine, I didn't plan to ask you how can we have more women in innovations, but you know, it's not my question anyway. So let's start with that.
Can I ask? Can I say just something on women, because we have, and that will be launched next Monday, because with the European Innovation Council, we definitely decided to invest in women-led startups and companies, because you know that better than me that only 8% of our startups are women-led. And only 1% of the venture capital is going to women-led companies, completely unacceptable. What we decided to do is, with the European Innovation Council, now to have a new initiative, Women Tech EU. We'll support 50 deep tech women-led companies with 75,000 euros and with mentoring and access to networks, so don't hesitate really to be there. The other side, for those that would like just to be supported, please look at the European Innovation Council, because what we decided a few months ago, in March 2020, I discovered is that there is only 7–8% of women-led companies funded by European Innovation Council, and I asked that at least 25% of women are succeeding to the interviews, always the merit, always the excellence, that's our principles. And what happened? In 5 months, we passed from 8 to 34% of women-led companies funded from European Innovation Council. So now we decided to have at least 40%, and I count very much on you. I think that now we need really to promote these new instruments. They are not very well known in our region. They are not very well known outside of the usual suspect networks. So I will be really very glad if all the participants in this panel really contribute to this, because that's something new. And final point, when we talk about European Innovation Council, it's over with these practice where we have a call, it's open for 6 months, the evaluation is in 8 months, and in this time, artificial intelligence and new technologies are evolving so rapidly. Now we decided with our team to submit your project whenever you want, to receive in 2 weeks an answer, okay, it's fitting perfectly well in our priorities, and you have 4 weeks to deepen your analysis and to present more information. It's not easy, believe me, the resistance is huge to change these practices. We started just now with a small part of the European Innovation Council, a small part of the project, but I think that one of the contributions of our innovators is to change this, to do things more rapidly, in a more innovative way, just trusting our innovators more.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, going back to the cooperation part. Geraldine, would you work or would you give a try? I really liked, and I don't know if Vice Minister, the Lithuanian one, is still with us.
I am, always.
Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Is your sandbox or your GovTech initiative open to companies from the 3Cs region? I mean, but without the need to be reincorporated there or start operations?
When it comes to FinTech sandbox, definitely the regulatory environments are different, and one of the main criteria to be eligible to participate in our FinTech sandbox is to provide services in Lithuania, to have a goal to provide services in Lithuania. So if the startups meet the criteria, we have very specific list of the criteria to participate in the sandbox. Startups from all across Europe can participate. When it comes to governmental level, we probably need to look for other ways of cooperation. Sandbox is not the tool to exchange the information and good practices the best. And when it comes to GovTech, I just wanted to emphasize that before starting any kind of European, pan-European, pan-3Cs initiatives, we have to see what is available already with the goal of avoiding the invention of the wheel. I have just looked the CIFTech Alliance, the one that I've mentioned in my presentation, and out of all 12 3Cs initiative countries, we only have Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland participating in this good practice platform for GovTech. So I definitely encourage all the participants of the panel and the ones that are listening to join the CIFTech Alliance, which is specifically designed to exchange best practices in GovTech, not only among European nations, but also worldwide.
Thank you so much for that. Then I would ask Božidar. We will change a little bit the order, but what's the better idea? What would be your recommendation? Holistically try to do more or less the same thing and see how it goes, or still go for specialization and trying to replicate the experiences?
Well, I'm sure there is no right or, well, any of these approaches will be wrong and right. Yeah. So I think the really right thing is that we stop convincing ourselves what a great initiative is, the 3Cs, but we start doing things. And when I was invited, I was thinking about sharing a few things, and now listening to the ministers and the commissioner, I thought actually I will elaborate on 3 of their messages. Each of them actually said something really, not just one, many, but something which really resonated with me. Commissioner was talking about collaboration. And then someone else said, innovation, it's not digital. Of course it's not digital, because digital is the product of innovation. And innovation, in a way, is, you could only have it if you have collaboration. Therefore, we have so many countries in between these 3Cs, we should be talking collaboration. You could have collaboration if you avoid any overlap. Ourselves in our organization, when we started all of this, because we operate across 29 countries here, we started 10 years ago and we said, yes, innovation, it's really sexy, we need to do a lot of these things, we need to reinvent our profession because it will be subject to lots of disruption. And everyone started inventing things. And I'll give you one simple example. It's called VAT Tracker. This basically is a digital tool which we offer to clients that they use, and they could monitor their VAT inputs and outputs, and practically to avoid any, abuse of VAT. And our Romanian colleagues developed something fantastic. You open the tab, you look at it, you get all the breakdowns. It's really nice. And then a few months later, we've established that in Poland, another team, colleagues, same company, yeah, and that's in a corporate world. They also developed something, well, 90% the same. It was called different. Probably the colors on the menu were different. Font was slightly different. And guess what? In Hungary, they also developed something. Because basically, the issue was the same in these 3 countries. Each of them was approaching it, because it was a burning issue, but they didn't talk to each other. So absolute waste of energy, resource, oxygen, you name it. This is what we need to avoid in the 3Cs initiative. And this takes me to specialization, which one of the ministers talked about. We should do specialization because then we'll be more efficient. And we will leverage on a different scale, the scale of 111 million. And the third one is what the Minister of Education said. He talked about a dream. I really like it. But what I like about a dream is a dream with a deadline. Because if it's a dream with a deadline and a budget, then it's no longer a dream, but it's something which happens. That's the difference between dream, because you end up only dreaming. A dream with a deadline, it means you get to execution. And I mean, here we have lots of smart people. I'm sure they will sense a bit of, they will appreciate and agree with me. Any strategy or any vision or any big thoughts that we put together, well, they're 90%, their success is 90% dependent on execution. Any strategy, 90% of execution. And then 90% of the execution depends on people. So we may as well agree and move on rather than keep convincing ourselves. That would be my comment.
Can I share with you something funny? The first person who said about specialization was none of the ministers, it was you. But that's the best thing about having a good idea among people who look in the same direction. Remember 2 weeks ago when we talked and you mentioned that specialization between offices of your company helped you develop. That came to my mind. I've mentioned it by accident. The minister liked it. And it's back to you, and you are totally okay that it's not yours. I think we should do something like that within this, I wouldn't say, no, why not, family, or something like alliance or coalition for innovation. And dear Mr. Minister, maybe we need to change a little bit, otherwise it's a minister corner there, but 2 questions. Do we do a follow-up? I really would be happy if we do. But then, together with your team, I think the first thing we need to do is to know a little bit better and find a way that we know what's happening in the countries. So I think that should be thing number 1. And then, going back, and I will ask Niels and Geraldine to be the voice of reason and practicality, because in the end of the day, you are the companies who do this. So I will come back to you in a moment. I would like, however, to invite Mihnea to join the discussion, because you are representing a peculiarly unique organization that's having a global footprint, totally dedicated to innovators, scalable businesses, and great teams. How can your experience be applied to what we want to achieve?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. Sorry? Thank you very much for the invitation and also for the question. It gives me the opportunity to talk about something that has started 24 years ago in Argentina and Chile, which is a totally private initiative and a totally ad hoc initiative. How to create networks of trust, starting from a rather hostile or not so friendly environment, and allow these people to talk to themselves, talk to each other, learn from each other, and grow together and scale up their businesses. And if I'm not mistaken, the word entrepreneur did not exist in South America back then. It was coined out of this great network, which has developed in time only with private means and only on a give back or paid forward basis throughout the whole world. And we are now in 40 markets, have been operating amazingly efficient in South America, North America, the Northern Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Europe. Europe probably was the last region in which we entered really sustainably, which is where we actually develop right now. We are in Bulgaria, we are in Romania, Greece, Turkey, Italy, Spain, Ireland, and probably Poland is going to be the next market where we will be. So what are we doing in a different way than other support organizations? We are bringing together entrepreneurs, angel investors, venture capital funds, C-levels from global companies, and they all share their experience, their failings, their successes, and they all learn from themselves. And there is this openness in the network to teach other people how to do things in a different way, or how to do things starting from geographies which were not traditionally on the Silk Roads of capital or on the Silk Roads of knowledge, and making it big in the global world.
Question. Sorry to interrupt, don't take
Please.
it as a disrespect. But then, if, for example, we continue with these digital hubs interconnected, that could be a very good practice to take and build on.
No, absolutely. Probably 70...
Would you be happy to contribute to it?
Well, absolutely, with the knowledge and with the power of the network, obviously. And the power of the network is a numbers game, but it's also a mind game. So we have about 2,000 entrepreneurs from 40 markets, over 4,000 mentors who are dedicating their time and energy to helping those entrepreneurs. And there is so much that we can do by connecting all these pieces together and growing also and sharing our experience also to the public actors who want to create these kind of networks at the regional level with specialization, because it's a specialized market. We have verticals that we have developed over the last 24 years. And with the support of a network who is celebrating basically getting out of your comfort zone and getting into this global ocean, which is not a red ocean, it's a blue ocean, in fact. But there are friendly people there who can help you. There are friendly people who can tell you what their fuck-ups were when they were in your shoes, and they were telling you also that you can make it big. So guess what? After 24 years, Endeavor has about 21 unicorns, and not a month goes by without showing another one. And guess what again? South America is probably the kind of the melting pot of all this dynamism, because 24 years, the seeds of this network were planted there. We hope to bring the same type of mentality and the same type of dynamism in Central and Eastern Europe. And we've been discussing ways in which we can plug into the support systems of the local countries and bring them all together. Angel investors, VC funds, crowdfunding platforms.
Can I interrupt you?
Accelerators, yes.
Sorry for that again. Dear Minister, if you switch off the minister and switch on the dreamer and entrepreneur, would you like to have this in this digital hub?
Absolutely. Actually, it all comes to people. In the end of the day, when we take out all the fancy words, it comes down to people that want to work together, that have the experience. One of my investors in my company, when I had switched off the minister hat, told me life is too short to learn from your own mistakes. So if we can gather the network of Endeavor, and in addition to the companies that already have the big questions about the biotech research, we can bring some of the startups that have the potential. It's a win-win from both directions. The startups can learn something from the big corporates. The big corporates can really learn a lot from the startups. So my dream in this digital hub is to actually have a special areas for each. And interestingly, now globalization really is giving us the feeling that it's all about, it doesn't matter where you're located. But it's not the case. It actually matters. Why it matters? Because physical communication, non-formal communication is where innovation is born. If I didn't know Professor Denkov, and we didn't spend so many hours with one of our friends that first met us together over there, there is no way I could know what is his capabilities. And if we just talked on some kind of a digital forum, I had no idea what his real research is. Mm-hmm. The only way I could have the real research is when we spent a lot of time together, physically, talking about it, discussing it. So, the Dreamer Hat, absolutely. We need to get all the angles possible. And in terms of specialization, I really like the point, it's true. We should not be afraid of competition. In other words, even if there are 5 startups in the same direction, or 5 companies that do the same thing, it doesn't matter if we replicate the resource. As long as these guys know each other, they can innovate slightly separately or go to a little bit of a different tangent. There was almost no innovation that I know of that started in one direction and finished in the same direction.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but that's a fantastic point because there is hostile competition and then there is something that is called co-opetition.
Yeah, actually competition should be competition. To be honest, in competition, you have to want to beat your competitors. Everything else is a little bit sugarcoating it, I think. But located in the same place, you can share the same resources, you can share the same academic programs, you can actually even steal from each other the talent. But in this stealing of the talent, there is a transmission of knowledge, and if you're in the same location, this can happen easier. So, yeah, cooperation is great. Competition should have its competitive force. We should not sugarcoat it, but we should use the synergies on common resources, common markets, common R&D projects, common government support programs.
Then I think you will be making Mihnea a little bit more happy because the way you do it, companies are cooperating, they are heavily competing during the selection panels and they still stay friends after that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the entrepreneurs speak the same language everywhere, irrespective that they come from the same industry or from different industries. They understand themselves and they use ideas that they have. It's also a lot of serendipity with these things, but you have to promote serendipity.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of UiPath, which is the last unicorn and the first unicorn out of Romania that I wanted to talk about just for 1 minute, is all about serendipity. And the UiPath sits on our board in Romania through their chief strategy officer, who told the story of how actually he got into UiPath. He found out about the concept of robotic process automation, and he was looking at companies that are in this area, and he was surprised. He was living in Romania, and he was surprised to find a company called UiPath, who was 2 blocks away from the place where he worked. So he went there and called these guys, and Daniel Dinesh, who's the CEO and the founder, was a nerdy geek back then, as I would put it, but he was growing his business slowly and slowly out of his own, compound in Bucharest. And the chief strategy officer, Varga Moaer, who actually found him and started, discussing with him and mentoring and teaching more about strategy, helped them grow into what they are right now. So they got listed in April, $35 billion market capitalization. It's all about serendipity, but serendipity needs to be promoted. You need to have an open mind, talk to people, never shy away from meeting them, and never, never be afraid to fail.
Thank you for that. Dear Niels, could you join us here because really that's becoming a minister's corner and we need to break it a little bit. And while you walk, could you please think how and share with us how this could work for a company like yours? A little bit bigger, a little bit more, let's say, out of the startup arena, but still how could it work for a company like you?
Yeah, hello friends. Greeting from Latvia first of all, and thank you for inviting me to be here in the panel. I would like to say we are not just a company, because we are a state-owned company, Electronic Communications Office, responsible about very strange thing, frequency management and supervision. But what we do already for 4 years is we are trying to create a honest ecosystem for 5G technology development. And I think what is really special in our thing is that we're trying to do this really honestly and grammatically right, which is sometimes quite important to do things really full power and really, let's say, involve all parties if you're talking about ecosystem. And why I'm underlining all those things, it's because it's not just entrepreneurs think to generate development and generate innovation. It's government thing. And it's very important that those future developments in our region, in 12 countries region, in Europe generally, is realized in much more closer way between policymakers, entrepreneurs, and scientists. And this is the thing how we do things in 5G territory, trying to bring those parties together. What we did, what we achieved.
Who is bringing them? Because when you say we, but there is somebody, you know, who is writing the invitations and taking care of the whole housekeeping.
Yes, there is exactly 2 people in charge from Electronic Communications Office who is organizing this process. We started with Latvian scale. Quite soon after half a year, basically, we understand that we are too small. And we make our ambition greater, and actually we are linked together. We have linked together Baltic Nordic region, and finally last year event was, let's say, there was participants from 200 countries.
Wow.
So that's the thing. And what I would like to say, things are possible to realize using very small resource, I mean, from human resource point of view, if you do things properly.
I really like how the entire discussion goes from shoot to what we do next week. And, you know, I'm writing a little list here, but could you get us in touch with those people? Your head of state is actually, you are the next host of the 3Cs initiative. Your next summit is going to be in your country. Would you like to help us follow up and do something together and have this capacity built for the entire region?
Yes, yes, for sure. I can promise to you and to you friends that we, from 5G territory point of view, will do our best actually to accelerate processes in the 3Cs region. And one of the funny ideas what I had in mind sitting back there is let's introduce new index. We know that there is thousands of indexes around the world introduced by banks, by analysts, etc., etc. Let's introduce the index TTDS 12. Do you know what does it mean?
Can we ask Professor Denkov, maybe?
Yes, maybe the professor knows what does it mean. TTDS 12.
12. So this would be the 3Cs initiative, development index 12, something like that, of 12 countries.
It's quite
close to.
You haven't been talking to each other, right?
Yeah. Wow. No, not yet, but we will do this tonight.
And this index would do?
Try to do something 12 together. Yeah, and this is very simple. Let's really...
Then let me stop. We need to count the 12. Let's do a roll call. Is Poland in?
Of course, I'm in. Let's do it together. Let's do it together, of course. But if I can, one sentence, because Mr. Minister first said about specialization, then about competition. In my opinion, it's not against.
Exactly.
I think it's competition. It's always good, of course, but competition, in my opinion, in our region should be first. First, we should compete between our businesses, between our countries, to find the best solutions, the best cases, then exchange these experiences between our countries, between our businesses, and then we'll have a base for specialization. We'll have to get to know in what Poland is the best, in which area Bulgaria is the best. For example, in my opinion, our Polish program GovTech is the best, but of course we have to compare with Lithuanian and choose the best one. If we are talking about this digital hub, great idea, but in my opinion, we should create a few of these digital hubs in different areas. For example, for FinTech, for MedTech, for GovTech, we should have this digital hub. Maybe in every country we should have a specialization in one area of our future economy. But we have to create some platform for exchange our experiences, our ideas, and maybe we should create a platform for business to help us in digital transformation in administration and business. Because, for example, if Bulgarian company would like to create a new product, but you don't have enough IT specialists, and for example, we in Poland or in Estonia and Latvia, we have a lot of this kind of specialists. So we should, as a Free Seas initiative, we have some platform when every company from our country can find a specialist, can find partner for developing different products, different ideas for new business, new services. We have to build a platform of cooperation between our countries. I'm afraid that nowadays we are a little bit mentally not ready for specialization. First, we have to find the best solution in our countries. First, we have to compete in this area, and then we'll be ready for a specialization.
But those are mostly good news. Why? Let me explain my comment. It's good to compete.
Of course.
We are lucky to be in a business and in a region where the so-called digital development index, we have room for not 12, for 24 bests, to be honest.
Sure.
And then specialization will come holistically. I think you agree with me.
Philip, just one point.
About we are talking about cooperation and many ideas how to start. Maybe this joint initiative on the healthcare. Yes, but I'm a bit afraid of initiative which is coming from the top to down, and well, I'll explain. And it will be more political initiative, because I think we need a lot of small ideas that we can make big, not big idea which can fail, because then everything will fail. So my suggestion would be, let's start to think with small programs, small initiatives, and make it big. Later, not immediately with the big idea, and maybe we will fail. And that's my fear.
Sure. 2 points. So I totally believe specialization happens through competition. For example, in order for the companies to specialize, they have to find their own angle. But in order to find their own angle, they need to be together. So, for example, I would love to create joint platforms where our companies on a single vertical compete with each other and know each other, exchange ideas, because the winner of these 3 Cs clusters in a single platform would be probably a global leader. The only way to create global leaders is to put our competitive companies together on each vertical. And the specialization, which center should be where, is where the specialization is, but that's more of on an overall structure basis versus on the company specialization, which should be based on competition. The second point is, I truly agree. The last thing we need is more government monuments, where somebody has a pet project and says, this is my pet project, we're going to put government money in. I remember back in school when they were comparing the fax industry in Japan. Thank you. The fax industry in Japan and the fax industry in France. The reason why the fax industry in Japan took off so much is because they had a real demand, because with all the Japanese alphabet, it's so much harder to type, so faxes were working. In France, they decided to make the French leader in fax, and they put a lot of government money in. So the Thomson company, I still remember it very clear, became really good at acquiring government money, but not really good at creating a new innovation. So the point here is, any project that we do here should be company first, government second. Even for my project that I'm presenting, I would not even think of a single euro spent unless we have 60–70% of companies saying we want to use this capacity. Unless we have this and unless we coordinate across the 12 countries and companies saying, yes, we need this, we should not spend a single dollar or euro.
We will be helping you as much as we can, but are you aware that until Latvia takes over, there will be a lot of work we need to do in the next couple of weeks?
Absolutely. Actually, the two things we should all, I think, at this point say, the digitalization budget should not be restricted. All restrictions right now, I think, are taking out the possibility of innovation. So we should say 20% should not be the limit, all of us. The second thing we should say, let's earmark a separate fund for innovation. I think this is, no matter what we do and how we coordinate, these two things are quick wins, and I think if we put it on the agenda as a priority, by the time the next meeting comes, maybe it's a reality.
No, sorry, no. Next week we do it. Okay. By the time next
week we do it.
Okay. No. Let's try the audience. Who thinks it's too theoretical? Who thinks I like it? And who would like to be part of it? Okay. Zdravko, please. This fine gentleman is from our team. Everybody that made this, could you please handle him your business card? Now, Geraldine, we will be building the platform, but you will be competing, right?
Right, that's the way it works, yeah.
How do you... I didn't see your hand. Was it like that?
Oh, sorry. I thought that was presumed. I thought we were already signed up. Yes, exactly. I've really sort of been thinking, and first I must say I come from a different sea, which is the Irish Sea. So sitting up here as a somebody who found themselves in Bulgaria as a hub for global innovation. And firstly, I think just to say that, you know, it was the specialization and the environment here that made it very possible. We're 13 years in business in 60-odd countries, and it's only been possible because of what's here. Now the sky's the limit, and seeing where we can take that further. But innovation is what I do day in, day out, and I was thinking a lot about the different countries where I've been part of different initiatives. So I spent a lot of time in Kenya, and those of you from the fintech world will know that Kenya was one of the first that came up with mobile wallets and mobile money. And you know, one would love to think that that was a master plan that somebody laid out, and it was all, and the truth is it was a mistake. It was a genuine mistake. It was a DFID UK government-led project that actually stumbled on a need. They thought it was going to be used one way, and the truth was people used it a different way. And I'm really happy that we've come back to that conclusion of start small, start with the entrepreneur, make sure that the people are out there, and then it's the pivoting. It's the pivoting that gets really, really interesting. So looking at what people are doing, what their behavior is, and then learning from that, reacting to it, and going forward. So I think some of the best laid plans, there's great. I often think a lot about why in some countries and some of our clients that we work with, why are they more successful at introducing innovations versus the others? There's a lot of culture. There's a lot of digital rails. So whether that's digital identity, whether it's payment systems, open APIs, all of these things, and making them available, but knowing that just because you built them doesn't mean that the innovation will happen. And I've seen that time and time again, and people getting overexcited about the open APIs or whichever it is in whichever country, and then, you know, waiting for the innovation and it not happening. So I think bringing everyone along on the journey, making sure that you're solving, you know, people on the street solving their problems, creating opportunities for entrepreneurs, making sure the entrepreneurs are with you along the journey, and then obviously the regulators and everyone else who needs to be part of it.
Can I also interpret your comment as building that platform is okay, but occasionally invite people from the business? By the way, Vice Minister Markevičiūtė, are you still with us? We didn't see your hand.
Looks like we lost Minister.
Okay, we will get back there, but anyway, Unfortunately, we need to wrap it up. Time flew really without noticing. But at 8 o'clock, there will be a cocktail. At that cocktail, downstairs on the 3rd floor, there will be the innovation table. So anybody who would like to, you know, hit us, hurt us. Minister Petkov will need to do the working then, and you know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm seeing your people are both enthusiastic and concerned, but we'll... And, sir, together with you, we do this. Next 3Cs meeting, we make everybody here proud to have been in this discussion, right?
Yeah. So, actually, I have a proposal. We are going to organize 5G Territory end of November this year. Let's change the tradition, because the 3Cs initiative, it's like a classic game. Once a year, everyone comes together, having good wine and coffee, and have nice talks, and everything goes to next year event. Let's make some interim processes. And regarding the digitalization, specialization, legal innovation, by the way, friends, which is a very, very important topic, yeah, because we're talking about innovation, about biomedicine, about ICT, about everything, but who will take care about legal innovation? Because look at what happens in reality with our startups. They grow up in Bulgaria, then they go to Germany, and after Germany they go to Silicon Valley or to China. Nothing against China or US, but my question is, why my kids will work in Silicon Valley? So I'm worried about why my country, why my region, why my European Union cannot establish appropriate legal frameworks to deliver opportunities to them to work here, to deliver their robots, their ideas, their IoT stuff. It's not legal in European Union. Listen, people, let's talk tonight about how to innovate in a legal frameworks, with legal frameworks.
Let's do this. Mr. Buyanov, shall we do this? Legal, good. So another table we do downstairs on the legal innovation. Mr. Minister, we have volunteered a lot of work for you, so it is the honor for you to close this part of the discussion. But let's do it next week.
Perfect. I want to, first of all, thank you for leading the discussion. I totally think this is the right spirit. Practical steps, small, real steps, business-based. Government is here to support. Government is not creating value. It's just supporting infrastructure. And I think we now, in the cocktail below, by the way, cocktails work for innovation. The first step is to know each other better, and to come up with the tangible next results. I'll put a team behind, actually our ministry now, and we have a few members there of the ministry. We think this is the future of our Ministry of the Economy. Unless we make it the innovation our first and biggest priority, we'll be just talking. So we'll put a team together. We'll be happy to coordinate with some of your contacts. Let's make it real. We know that you're absolutely right. Most of the Silicon Valley innovations are with European entrepreneurs. So we need to create it on the other side to stay here. Quite a bit of the brain drain should not be lost.
Well, yep. I wish we had another hour, to be honest. But we have 2 until 10 downstairs. Everybody. Zdravko, myself, or the people from the Bulgarian ministry, hit us, hurt us. Let's do this. It's the right time. Thank you so much, and see you in a couple of minutes. It's been really a pleasure, really. Thank you.
So let's do it.
No, we do it.
Good.
Thank you. No, it's...
For every beginning, there is a place to live, a place to grow, a place to move to, and a place to move you. Today, you're taking the first step to that place. A place which connects you to the Middle East and Russia without ever leaving the European Union. A place of great connections, where the internet is amongst the 10 fastest in the world. Everything moves fast in this place. A booming economy with low operating costs and a corporate tax of just 10%. A smart place with smart people. People who top the global charts in mathematics and rank third in the world in IT specialists per capita. People who communicate with the world. 1 in 2 speaks at least one foreign language. This place is a vibrant global software development hub, an industry growing by 30% year on year. The automotive sector is also driving in the fast lane, helping 90% of the European cars move. And there's more. More electrical manufacturing, more mechatronics, more mechanical engineering, electronics, innovations. More is moving forward in this place. Until it pauses. Just for a moment. And then you dive into 14 centuries of cultural heritage. You are dazzled by the stunning natural beauty and never get tired of its diversity throughout its 4 seasons. You fall in love with this place of abundance, where half of the land is arable, fertile, clean, and rich in mineral water. So move forward and be moved by Bulgaria. Take the first step and let us welcome you with strong institutional support and attractive business incentives. Invest in Bulgaria. Move to be moved.
Base. So, I would really like to apologize to the fellow panelists right now for getting carried away in the previous discussion, but let me start and I will introduce after that. But let me, okay, did you listen to the previous discussion? Okay. Okay, so on the left of me, we have the Stock Exchanges Corner. Immediately next to me is Mr. Marek Ditul, President of the Warsaw Stock Exchange.
That's me.
Next to him is Mr. Manu Moravenov, Professor Moravenov, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Bulgarian Stock Exchange. And on the right is a good friend. So you're a little bit more into the innovative community, Vladimir Danailov, who is the Executive Director of the Bulgarian Fund of Funds. Gentlemen, you are a little bit more in the more regulated, more serious, more bureaucratic, or is it so?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I mean, I used to work for a first Polish fund of funds for 4 years, so I can well understand your job. And we, even as a stock exchange, we create our fund of funds for pre-IPO funds. So actually, the stock exchange is so vibrant as the venture capital market, local venture capital market, because the stock exchange for me, I mean, I know Moravenov, Professor Moravenov, if you would agree with me, but the stock exchange starts with a fast-growing company with highly ethical management. And usually venture funds bring to the stock exchange this type of companies. So actually, you guys, you should sit together and do the business.
Good. I think you are sitting occasionally, but let me then ask you the next question. Do you share the energy, this vibe to do something together? And could stock exchanges be a part of that?
Yeah, in the previous discussion, someone mentioned an index, and actually we have 3Cs index with 100 plus companies. As it's targeted for a global audience, especially Asian investors, we need some liquidity requirements, and we look forward to welcome to this index first Bulgarian company pretty soon. So hopefully we will be joining the index, but it's already working on this level. And there is a second layer. If you look at the structure of the stock exchanges in the region of 12 Cs, you see that in terms of trading volume, Warsaw Stock Exchange has roughly 57% of trading volumes, Austrian Stock Exchange 34, roughly. So for the rest of the exchanges, another 10 exchanges, relatively small amount is left over because it's less than 10% of the trading volumes. This is really a challenge, I think you will confirm that, to run a relatively smaller exchange, because there's incredible technological race between the exchanges. And we say, as the largest exchange in the region, that our role is to develop technologies for the other exchanges, which are, on the one hand, extremely competitive, best in the world, best in class, but at the same time, very affordable, in nice financial model for the other exchanges. So we see that, on the one hand, we have to get global investors to the region, and we can do it via indices, via common marketing, but also to satisfy the requirements from the trading community, we need very efficient systems, IT systems, and at the price which allows exchanges to be profitable.
Let me then go, Mr. Morovenov. As far as I understand, to some extent, exchanges are already in this friendly competitive scenario. Yeah. Do we move towards specialization?
Yes, I agree with Marek. The stock exchanges in our region are cooperating each other from a lot of years. Of course, the 3Cs region is quite big. There are 12 countries, 12 stock exchanges. We have a lot of initiatives in our neighborhood exchanges during the years, and as Marek said, some of exchanges are quite bigger and quite more developed comparing to the others, and this is one of the difficulties with how we could cooperate between each other. But I think that nowadays mergers, acquisitions, and takeovers are not the only options for cooperation between stock exchanges, and we have several not very good examples in our region what could happen and what could not happen doing such kind of businesses. But especially the stock exchanges that are part of EU have the same regulations. They have the companies listed on these exchanges can use the single passports for listing on other exchanges. But yet we don't have a lot of dual listing, we don't have a lot of cross-border trading investments, and we have to question why, what is the reason. And of course, one of the reasons is the huge differences between, let's say, the 3 top exchanges, Warsaw, Vienna, and what is the third one, the Hungary, for instance, and Poland, comparing to the others, which are several times smaller. Yes. But I believe that bigger exchanges could, and not only bigger exchanges, exchanges that have already built some infrastructure, some technology, could share their infrastructure with smaller exchanges, because markets on the southern part of Europe need to be developed. Some of them have a lot of potential growth, but they need some help, they need some initiatives, and these initiatives could come together on some R&D initiatives together with bigger exchanges, sharing knowledge, doing together some business, some new, even so creating something new, like, let's say...
Is it already starting? These are good ideas, but have you started such cooperation or investigating potential for it?
Yes, yes. Such cooperation have been started on the neighborhood area, but now we've started this on the 3C initiative. We are starting with creating of information dissemination hub that will combine information and market data from all our exchanges, because one of the reasons why we don't have this cross-border investments is that our investors don't know very well the companies that are listed, what investment opportunities they could have. So they need a little bit more information, and they need trust to be developed, and this could be done with forcing the connections not only on the trading level, but the post-trading processes, because nowadays stock exchanges are very high-tech companies. The question is how the investors could have direct access to the stock exchanges, and this could be done through different connections between the clearing institutions, the depository institutions, but these connections sometimes are expensive and they need a business case. And this is like what is the first, the business case or the connection? And with joint initiatives, we could do this, and I believe that bigger exchanges could help the others. And
they could, but sorry to interrupt you, because I feel tempted to ask two questions. I will ask the second question first, and it will be on behalf of both of you. Vladimir, how many venture capital and private equity and mezzanine operators you're now, you're investing in?
You mean fund of funds?
Yes.
Well, pretty much we got 5. I mean, 4 are already in investment mode, and the 5th one is going to be operational in investment mode in a month or 2. Good. So for the last couple of years, pretty much we funded those 4. And now we have, no matter what stage of development is a company, we got all stages covered.
And those funds are managing what amount of funds?
150 million euro, pretty much.
Which makes you one of the biggest operators as fund of funds regionally, right?
Yeah, definitely. We are the largest investment institution.
The question then, on behalf of these two gentlemen, what should be done that as many of your, the startups invested in are arriving there?
We are going to see.
Wait. And then comes the first question. Marek, is it, wait. Okay. Is it a zero-sum game? Sorry. Is it it all? Or is it some kind of cooperation? Because Mr. Muravanov said help. I wouldn't say help, but maybe assistance cooperation. For you, is it like that as well? How would it work? And then we will go to how we can source a little bit more deals.
Okay. Good. So first of all, if we look globally, roughly 20 to 25% of the exits from venture capital portfolios is on the stock exchange. But it roughly generates 80% of the investment proceedings for the venture funds. So usually venture funds exit via stock exchange from big deals. You very rarely exit in a kind of IPO, because the IPO itself is costly, you have to attract large audience and so on, so rather big companies. And there is a weakness of the region is that in terms of stock exchanges or public markets, that venture funds usually have a regional focus. Of course, they are bound by the mandate of the state if it's government sponsored, but they look usually in the region. Investors in the stock exchange are either investing in their home country or in the West Europe or in US. That's their role. So north-south axis is roughly unused. If you would take an average investor from Slovenia, he has relatively for our region large portfolio of equities, and he has a little bit in Slovenian stocks, roughly 2-3%, and over 90% somewhere else, but not in the region. So, and then it comes to the situation when we have explosion of entrepreneurship in our region. UiPath, Romanian company, excellent example. What they did, they looked at the Bucharest Stock Exchange, very nice exchange, but relatively small, recently graduated to the emerging market, so second stage of development, and they say, we will never, with the connectivity of Bucharest Stock Exchange, we'll never raise the money and valuation of $35 billion. So they went to New York. We had IPO of 10 plus billion euros at our exchange, and we have all possible connections because we are big. It's not that we are so smart, but we are simply big, and everyone has to connect to us because we reached the stage. And the optimal cooperation in attracting VC investment is that Bulgarian Stock Exchange says, okay, we are small, we don't have that much connections, but let us do the IPO with us because you are the local company, our local investors base will love you, but also go to Vienna or to Warsaw. Those two exchanges are in developed market status, so they are in the highest level of development of the stock exchanges. And they have connection to everyone. So connectivity is not a problem. Investors from all over the world can invest. And you are list with that. Because then you have both local investors engagement and access to the global pool of money. And this is still we have to work on because we are much better as the exchanges to do the marketing of the region to the global investors. But we are not that good, I think, in offering listing solutions for unicorns from our region. And of course, if we had this 10 billion euro Allegro deal, they IPO'd in Poland because, I mean, local investors were very important for them. But on the other end, UiPath, they went to the New York, and they are basically from the perspective of local capital markets, they are lost. And also, they would be more tempted to move more operations somewhere abroad. So, all in all, Romania also lost it, or part of it. If they were closer, they might stay longer in Romania.
I see.
In general, I agree with Marek. I would just mention that, in my opinion, local markets must grow to some level to be able to join or to make better cooperation with bigger markets. And I believe this could happen in Eastern Europe. For instance, the last decade, Romanians proved this, and I believe that in the next decade, Bulgarian Stock Exchange will prove it also. And what we are doing now, we are in exactly the same what Marek said. We are cooperating very well with Deutsche Börse at this stage to develop a fast-track listing process for Bulgarian companies that has already listed on the regulated market. They have grown to some level. They want to grow more. We already attract all possibilities in Bulgaria, and then why not to attract foreign investors using the bigger exchanges opportunities?
Can I ask a very stupid question?
Yes, of course.
It's awesome that there is a fast track, and I will ask the stupid question to you. Do you know about this fast track? Do your fund managers know about this fast track? And do the startups and scale-ups know about this fast track?
You mean the beam up?
As well.
Talking about? Well, pretty much, I wanted to refer to what the other gentleman said. We are going to see it as a success if the successful companies that we see, that very talented companies' ideas already are developing very well. And pretty much the logical path is to go to the stock exchanges to a certain point. And because you said, and I saw that in the previous panel, you're shaping ideas, and kind of it could be a very good facility if we really succeed into advising, informing, and nurturing those companies on the way, how to structure their business, and while they are still in the stages of development pre-going to the stock exchange, to really make them prepared for that.
Can I involve the audience for a moment?
Yeah, exactly.
Ekaterina, if you forget your previous life for a moment, I mean, Ekaterina is a fund manager of one of the most successful funds here, and they work with the Bulgarian fund of funds. But do you need more tools, more training, more fast-track descriptions, more contacts with the exchanges?
So the short answer is yes. I mean, we need this facility. Yeah, yeah, and they don't have enough information. I mean,
did you hear her? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but we should not neglect this local investors base. I mean, when Allegro was IPO'd in Warsaw, only 10%, 5% ultimately, of the IPO came from the retail investors in Poland. There was some fraction of the institution, and the global investors was the rest. But actually, the global investors are looking very carefully what the retail and the institution in the given country are doing. I'm pretty sure that UiPath, if they could get extremely attractive valuation in Romania, because it's a star of the country, and this will be somehow mimicked by the valuation, or can improve the valuation also for the global investors. So basically,
it's not a failure, but an opportunity cost.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, even in the listings, we do not compete that much between the exchanges. And in the space, in VC space, of course, we're more than happy to train you and show you what is the process. But actually, what we also developed is the training for the companies, how to manage the value of the company. Because if you go from, family, then you have venture, but then you are exposed to the public market. It's a completely different situation.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and so you rather should train. I mean, you are investment professionals, so you know how the markets work, but actually you should go more after your companies to train people before they go for the IPO.
Absolutely.
I would like to add something regarding the topic of today's panel, innovation. I believe that stock exchanges can play a crucial role in funding the companies the innovative companies to bring the economies to the future, to the next level. And because the stock exchange markets and the capital markets are the best way of investment allocation regarding the other options. And in that regard, stock exchanges could, and they are playing, they're working very, very hard, not only with the public market investors, but only with the ecosystem of private equity investors and venture capitals. And SMEs growth markets, like BIM market in Bulgaria, are a kind of hybrid markets that could play on the both ecosystems. They could use investors from private equity system and investors from the public market equity system. They connect them each other. Otherwise, their two ecosystems are developing in parallel. And this is what we are doing here in Bulgaria. Not only in Bulgaria, I know very well that in Poland they're doing the same, in Romania the same. We are working very good in very good cooperation with Bulgarian fund of funds, with Bulgarian Development Bank, with EBRD, with our programs. We've already have 3 very successful IPOs on our BIM markets here, and I would like to add something. We came to one very good idea several months ago, together with our institutional partners, that an IPO funds could be developed using the financial instruments opportunity through the fund of funds, and such IPO funds could become a part of sub-funds of this fund that could invest in companies listed on the B market, for instance. And why not we start thinking about creating such kind of IPO funds on the regional level, on the 3 Cs, using the 3 Cs initiatives, because if we have such kind of IPO fund that will invest in innovation companies in 12 countries, in the 12 capital markets, this will attract a lot of institutional investors, and it will multiply a lot. We could attract pension companies and other.
Very quickly,
this will be a driver for our future cooperation.
How could you structure such a fund? How would you structure?
It could be using the government will at the beginning, and then it will attract a lot of institutional
government
money.
Or several governments?
Several governments, of course.
Okay.
In Bulgaria, we are wanting to. We believe that this will become part of our
I'm not doing it out of disrespect, but the time is ticking. Marek, how does this idea sound to you?
Very good. The Hungarians were extremely successful in their government-sponsored fund.
We have the luck to have all the heads of states down there. So let's go and
let's
push
run,
this on.
yeah.
No, let's do this. I mean,
run downstairs and tell them.
How does it sound to you?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yep, to do.
Any closing remarks? Because you are an entity that is both protecting the public interest, at the same time you're representing the VC and private equity and investment community.
Yeah, if I need to address the audience here, is because we have like representatives of 12 plus countries in the hall right now. What happened in the last 10 years? Right now I'm very happy to say that now we have talented teams and companies that were funded by some of the 15 plus venture capital funds in Bulgaria, and they're developing very well. So pretty much we have 12 plus countries here, and we are taking an initiative to promote that there is in Bulgaria a very, let's say, talented, good pipeline of companies that shortly in a year, 2 or 3, it's going to be time for next tier investors, but also for IPO, etc. And actually, this is the message, because today I see the most popular word in all the panels, and when the presidents were discussing in the morning, is collaboration. So this is something very significant.
Done.
Yeah, that's why.
Wait. Before we shake hands. Next week, because I'm not joking, we do this. We start putting the dots on the piece of paper, and we will be promoting this, and I think we can push this for the next 3Cs initiative, which is actually in 1 year, but 1 year will go as nothing. So, would you like to participate?
Yeah, and we have even infrastructure. We registered GPW Ventures as an alternative investment company, so we even have a structure ready, and we already put some money into this venture.
You?
So we are ready.
Sounds great to me.
Katya? Anybody from the audience who would like to be part of this stream of initiatives that will be going on, please raise your hand. We are here with Zdravko, and we have another thing going. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have a small gift for you.
Oh, really?
Book on the 30th anniversary of the Warsaw Stock Exchange.
Oh, thank you so much.
For others participants, thank you very much for the discussion.
But can I ask you for an autograph?
Sure.
Thank you, Marek.
Okay, I will join you in a second, because we have one final thing, but you are free to go. Mm-hmm. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
I hope my Google account is not being deleted as we speak, because now I would like to give the floor to the Google team. Are you with us? Are they being streamed? You're an American company, but
I don't comment on this. And honestly, I'm a bit on that time pressure, because I have, I was pushed further into the evening, and I would love to start. Like it obviously all sound very good. And I'm pleased.
Thank you. So to all the audience, I'm really honored to present to you Ms. Annette Krobel-Riel, Vice President of Google. She will announce the successful organizations of the Google's Impact Challenge that seek advance to the cause of social innovation in the 3Cs region. And they will receive funding, mentoring, support from Google for the next 2 years for their projects. And without much ado, it's your floor. Thank you.
Thank you. So, first of all, again, good evening. Excellencies, ministers, I don't see the audience, so I don't know who is still there. Participants of the panel, dear guests, it's an honor to be here, at least virtually. I would obviously rather be there in person. My name is Annette Gröber-Riel, and I lead Google's government affairs and public policy teams in Europe. I would like to thank the organizers, the Office of the President of Bulgaria, and the Ministry of Economy of Bulgaria, Bulgarian Small and Medium Enterprise Promotion Agency, the Bulgarian Development Bank, and AmCham Bulgaria for having us tonight. It's great for Google to be partner to the 3Cs and the 3Cs Business Forum. We have been committed to the digital future of this initiative since 2016 because we sincerely believe the 3Cs format can effectively integrate this region, accelerate its development, and raise its profile, both within the EU and globally. We are proud to be part of the vibrant digital and tech ecosystem in the region. We have a sizable presence with several offices, including engineering teams. And most recently, we unveiled the Google Cloud region in Warsaw, a new infrastructure investment that supports the digital transformation of companies big and small. The whole world is undergoing a digital transformation. Digitization and online tools proved to be a lifeline. They allowed us to all maintain social relations and proved to be a source of resilience for individual companies as well as entire sectors and industries. Digital tools and skills will also be a catalyst in the comeback, but not everyone has access to these vital tools or the skills to use them. And the pandemic has also widened the digital skills gap, putting disadvantaged groups at risk of being further left behind. Let me share a specific example that shows why we created the Impact Challenge for CEE. Riga Tech Girls is a women-led community based in the Latvian capital. They inspire and educate women and girls about technology, helping them gain the skills required to become architects of their own future. They have been doing this work for 5 years. In 2019, they received a grant from Google.org to scale their trainings in tech jobs and mentorship programs. They received almost double the amount of applications from women across the country than anticipated. When the pandemic hit, Riga Tech Girls had to rapidly transition their offline programs to full online, making significant changes to their operations while ensuring that they continue to reach communities in remote areas that become more isolated. And Riga Tech Girls is not alone. A great number of dedicated and innovative NGOs and social enterprises are working hard to try and make a difference in this era of rapid digital transition. And the changes brought by the pandemic, widespread illness, social distancing, shutting down of venues, lockdown, isolation have only made their work harder. The pandemic has also disproportionately affected women. So Riga Tech Girls applied for the Google.org Impact Challenge with the idea to support women in professions most affected by the pandemic: teachers, healthcare workers, and artists. They aim to reach 1,000 teachers, 1,000 healthcare workers, and 1,000 artists. This project is just one that we selected for support, and I will mention more examples later. This brings me to Google.org, Google's philanthropic arm. Through Google.org, we contribute to solving some of humanity's biggest challenges by combining funding, innovation, and technical expertise to support underserved communities and provide opportunity for everyone. In recent years, Google.org has been expanding its philanthropic work in the region as well. The Impact Challenge are one of the tools Google.org uses to open innovation for invitation, for ideas, with the aim of finding and funding the strongest and boldest ideas from local nonprofits and social enterprises. The Google.org Impact Challenge for Central and Eastern Europe will help more organizations making change in this vital region. My colleague Pablo Chavez announced this initiative last year in Tallinn at the 3Cs Virtual Summit. Today, I have the great pleasure to announce the results. This is the first impact challenge dedicated to the region of the 3Cs, and it's providing a total of €2 million of funding split between organizations in the countries in the region. Our aim with the challenge is to empower non-profits, social enterprises, and academic institutions for charitable projects that focus on digital inclusion. That means using technology and innovation to help individuals and communities through the current economic recovery. Because we believe that the digital economy should work for everyone. Before we get to the results, I would like to thank the amazing panel of advisors who helped us during the past months. These experts come from around the region and are all leaders in their various fields of digitization, innovation, and development. They went the extra mile for the Impact Challenge, from raising awareness, encouraging applications, selecting the best projects. Their input and expertise was invaluable, and would like to thank them for their time and dedication. Selecting the best projects was certainly not an easy task, particularly because we received an incredibly high number of applications, more than 850, which shows the breadth of social innovation across the region. From this, and with our panel of experts, we carefully selected the 13 most innovative and impactful ideas to bridge the digital divide. And I'm excited to now reveal the 13 successful organizations, all doing wonderful and critical work to foster digital inclusion across the region. We are delighted to see these organizations fighting for digital inclusion. Who will benefit? People with disabilities, young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people from the LGBTQ+ community, individuals and entrepreneurs living in remote and rural areas, or teachers with low digital literacy. I would love to talk to you, obviously, I would love to talk to you about the incredible work each of those successful challenge grantees is doing. But in the interest of time, and I know you have your dinner coming up, let me just highlight a few. In Bulgaria, the Listen Up Foundation will help establish a Deaf Studies Master's program at the University for Deaf People in Bulgaria and beyond. Students will learn academic, community building, language, and entrepreneurship skills. This project addresses the immense lack of access to education, knowledge, and expertise of deaf people, and is uniquely developed to help 20,000 deaf people to become leaders and experts in their fields. Next one is the Digital Nation in Romania, which will develop an innovative job matchmaking program to address two key problems post-COVID. SMBs lacking skills to transition their businesses online and high unemployment rate amongst young people. They will connect young digital experts from a growing community of 1,500+ members with SMBs who need such hands-on expertise for growing their business. Digital Nation has a strong track record in the field of digital skills trainings. We want to support them again, given the high potential of scaling the program beyond Romanian borders to the whole 3Cs region. And the University of Primoška in Slovenia will create an online marketplace for local tourism providers through which they can become visible and bookable online. Through the network of their local scouts, young tech-savvy people trained in tourism, they will help their fellow residents to create new income opportunities. This project has been selected because it addresses the lack of digital and entrepreneurial skills among rural local tourism providers, the sector hit most by COVID-19. And of course, we are excited to see Riga Tech Girls as a successful applicant again, and to continue to support their work. I really encourage all of you to find out more about these organizations and them exciting and impactful impactful work they are all doing, and encourage you to look this up on our website. You can see the link on the slide. So how are we helping? For the next 2 years, all of these organizations will receive funding ranging from 50,000 euro to 250,000 euro. This will help them develop and scale their projects and ensure they reach the underserved communities that need them most. That's a lot of great numbers, but real support goes deeper. Beyond this, Google.org will also provide capacity building through an initial needs assessment, followed up by bespoke seminars and one-to-one mentorship, free ad grants, and Google volunteers. Just as the 3 Cs has shown the power of cooperation between nations when it comes to economic growth and energy security, exchanging ideas with NGOs in the same field can produce fantastic results. Tonight is a very special night for me personally, because these amazing projects show that digital technology can change lives for the better. I can't wait to see what the organizations we are supporting will achieve over the next 2 years. It's a time of unprecedented transition for us all, and they are ideally placed to make a huge difference to people's lives in the 3 Cs region as it recovers from the pandemic. We look forward to continuing to support the 3 Cs initiative and promoting cooperation for successful digital transformation, including with the United States, to build on a strong transatlantic relationship. And with that, thank you so much, and I wish you a fantastic evening. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. We also can't wait to see what is going to happen in the next 2 years, and I hope you will continue with this initiative. There will be more cohorts joining, and we're happy that you are part of the 3Cs initiative as well. That being said, thank you again. Thank you everybody for the patience and for the long day. Let's go to the 3rd floor for the cocktails. Thank you very much.